Hey, welcome back. Today we're talking about vibration training. Those of you that follow me know that I've been talking about doing a barefooting video. That's still coming, but today someone in the CST family asked about vibration training, so that's what I'd like to discuss today. What is vibration training? It's basically having a platform such as this that shakes while you exercise on it. Weird, I know. Anyway, it's got some roots with Dr. Kellogg, the guy that invented your crappy cereal cornflakes. Sorry, Kellogg. I'm not sorry. He had a bunch of vibrating machines that were supposed to improve your health, and I'm sure did to some extent. It also has roots in the cosmonaut program, where they're trying to figure out a way for these guys to be able to maintain their bone mass and their muscular strength in the absence of a field of gravity. Because as you may or may not know, without gravity acting as a stress upon the body, there's very little impetus for the body to maintain that mass. So the body starts cannibalizing your bone because it decides that you don't need it. And technically you don't when you're in outer space. But when you come back to Earth and you are a weakling and with very frail bones, it can be problematic. So they're trying to figure out a way for these guys to exercise effectively while they're up there. They obviously couldn't lift weights because stuff isn't very heavy in space. Anyway, how does vibration training work? Well, imagine that you're standing, just minding your own business, and somebody sneaks up behind you and shoves you. Immediately, your nervous system hijacks your muscles and forces a righting reflex to prevent you from eating the dirt, right? So a leg shoots out or you fix your balance, but you catch yourself. Now, an interesting thing about that is that it's not conscious, it's a reflex. And when it's reflexive, there's an increased activation of the contractile apparatus, which basically means that you're using a greater percentage of your available muscle to either execute a movement or prevent that fall from happening, okay? So what happens with vibration training is many times a second, your body is being knocked off balance and being forced to correct its position. Again, like I said, it's not conscious, so many times a second, you're activating a huge amount of muscle to basically, just to maintain your position on the platform. There's also the amplification of gravity that happens, because if you're just on the plate or the ground, this is 1G, 1 times the force of gravity. When the plate moves away from you, you're almost like falling. Obviously, you're only moving a couple of millimeters here, but you're sort of falling, and then the plate accelerates upwards. So you have gravity plus that upward acceleration. So this leads to increased training benefits because it's harder for your muscles to deal with increased force. We know that just from lifting a dumbbell and then lifting a heavier dumbbell, right? The greater weight your body has to deal with, the greater stress it is, the greater the training effect. Okay, now there are a couple of different types of, oh, actually, don't want to get ahead of myself, the benefits. Why bother with this stuff? Well, because some of the things shown in studies to happen when you're using vibration training is fat loss, muscle gain, increased strength, improved speed, increased bone density, which is particularly important for the elderly or those that are at increased risk for losing bone mass, improved lymphatic flow, improved hormonal profile, which has a broad spectrum of far-reaching benefits for improving your health. So that's why it's so cool. That's why vibration training is becoming kind of a big deal. It may or may not be big where you are, but in some places it is becoming quite popular. Now, as I was saying, the types. There are a few different types of machines. This, for instance, is a hypergravity machine. Hypergravity is just the company that makes it, by Josh Hyan. It's what I have, use, and like. I'm not trying to pimp it to you guys, I'm just saying that's what this is, and this is our first type, which is a lineal. That basically means that the majority of your training stimulus is going this way, straight up and down. I say the majority because we live in an imperfect world, and you can't really make a machine that moves perfectly straight up and down. There will be some variation, but the majority of your movement is up and down. Okay, so that's the lineal machine. Again, hypergravity makes machines like that. Vibratrain out of New Zealand. There's a bunch of other brands, but those are just a couple of examples. Then you've got your 3D or triplanar models. This is your power plate or K1 from Noble Rex, stuff like that. And what they do is they move up and down, forward and back, side to side. There is some controversy surrounding models like this, and I'll tell you why. If you watch my last video on the 6 degrees of freedom, you know that life happens in 3 planes, right? And the proponents of models such as this say that because of that, we should probably be training in 3D as well, with vibration training. The people that are against that sort of thing say that it's sort of just a marketing gimmick. Like I said, we live in an imperfect world, and it's very difficult to make a machine that moves perfectly up and down, which means that it's much easier and therefore much cheaper to make a machine that moves in an uncontrolled manner. 3D, it's basically moving all over the place. Again, we're only moving millimeters here, but still, this could be considered an uncontrolled movement. Now, that has maybe some issues with it. For instance, like if you're going to study the effects of a machine like this, it's probably harder to get consistent results and have a real study that you can have faith in when the movement is uncontrolled, therefore unpredictable and untrackable. Well, we might not have the equipment to track it, is what I mean. Anyway, also there's stuff to consider with stuff like shear within your joints, okay? Because with vibration training, with the lineal model, you've got this happening, right? And this is happening in your joints, and that's pretty much how our joints, for the most part, are designed to deal with force. Now, when you've got this 3D thing happening, there's this shearing that happens in your joints, which may or may not be beneficial for you and your clients. I'm not trying to talk you out of using a triplanar model. I'm just saying that's something to think about. Then you've got the pivotal vibration training machines, such as the Galileo, which is the pioneer of the pivotal model, which basically means that your plate is here and it's pivoting around a central axis. Overall, they have very similar effects and benefits, like we talked about with the fat loss and that stuff. We can get into that more in another video if you guys are interested, but in general, they kind of have these same effects. They will be a little different, obviously, because if you're moving differently, the load and the stress is different, therefore the training effect must be different. So those are the types. I also want to talk about materials. More and more people are getting interested in buying these things for home use. And unfortunately, a lot of people are getting ripped off because they don't understand materials. You get what you pay for with vibration training, just like most things. And some makers are using cheaper materials, thinner plastics and stuff like that, instead of something heavy and dense like metal. Now, why does that matter? Well, if you've ever jumped on a trampoline and then gotten off that trampoline and jumped on concrete, you know that there is a very different effect, right? When that material has give, there's a dispersion of the forces that go into that material. Well, with vibration training, the goal is to transfer force from the plate to your body, or from the platform to your body. So if you've got a weaker material, such as plastic or something that's really flexible, you're not getting as much force transferred up towards your body. That may or may not be what you're looking for. If you can't afford a professional model or something like that, you will still get some benefits from standing on a cheap model that vibrates, but it won't be the same thing. If you're looking for the benefits that have been proven in studies done on professional models, then you're going to have to use a professional model made out of professional materials. That's just the way it is, guys. So don't get ripped off. I know you'll go on eBay and see like machines for a couple $100s, and they're made out of plastic, and the motors are like the size of Coke cans, and it's just ridiculous. Don't get ripped off. So is it worth it then to use vibration training? Well, like I said, it has been shown in studies that all of these effects that I've talked about do happen. So yes, it can absolutely be worth it. But the vibration training platform is a tool, just like any other, like a club bell, a kettlebell, a dumbbell, or a shake weight. The value is in how you're using it and why you're using it. There are lots of different ways that you can use a vibration training machine. You can base it as, or you can make it the foundation of your program, for instance. You can use it for relaxation. I'll often have clients use it as recovery, either in between sets or at the end of a workout. That's something you can try. There's lots of different ways that you can implement this, but again, the benefit and whether or not this is worth it for you to use really is going to boil down to the quality of the machine that you're using and the quality of the program that you're using to implement that machine. Alright guys, that's it for now. Let me know how you liked the video. If you've got any questions on vibration training or anything else that I can help you with, just leave me a comment in the comment section or head over to Stillness Gym's Facebook wall and leave a post. We'll see you next time at the Stillness Gym.